Okay, trivia for today. How much higher is the median net worth of homeowners compared to renters? Again, how much higher is the median net worth of homeowners compared to renters? The answer is 44 times. Again, the big message out of this, especially for all realtors, is that home ownership is a phenomenal way to build long-term equity. Specifically, about two-thirds of US wealth comes from home equity ownership. And in 78 of the last 83 years, home prices have gone up. Remember the stat, it's going to come back in the next half hour, again, showing how much value that you are able to bring to people and change their lives.
Bob, so the short answer is this may be the time to buy low.
Is it, again, home ownership, long-term home ownership is the biggest way for wealth creation, and that's why real estate agents are so valuable in helping people make wise decisions. So obviously, there's been a lot of things going on at the federal level over the last month. Let's hit a few of them that are impacting you and that are impacting Houston. So right now, I think as you've seen, rates are at the lowest this year. We're about 6.2%. And there's about a 90% chance that those rates are going to come down even more next week if the Fed lowers rates again. Again, a little bit of good news. A shutdown, again, Washington, D.C. never should surprise us with how crazy it gets. It is currently the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And for the flood policy, some of the lapse in getting the flood policies processed, it is risking about 3,600 closings a day, right? A lot of uncertainty, kind of a lot of fear that that's brought up. Inventory is up about 10% year over year, again, on a nationwide basis. We're going to get into Houston stats in just a second. Price cuts, this is also very interesting. About 1 in 5 homes nationwide have had a price cut, again, active on the market on a price cut. The percent of those homes is up 18% over the last year. So, again, a lot more price cuts. And as we know, price cuts typically lead to price sales that are lower. Also, days on market up about 13% year over year, about an extra week or so on the market. A few more interesting stats. Again, I'm going to keep hitting you with some good news.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic news. Median sales price nationwide is up about 1%, which is about half the rate of inflation. So even though prices are going up, on a real basis, they are actually declining because inflation is above the increase in median home prices nationwide.
But Bob, that doesn't really make sense if you're telling us all the facts that, the markets, these numbers, blah, 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 but prices are technically up.
Prices are technically up because, again, inflation is up more than the price of a home. And so, right, if you go to the store, you get some eggs, you get some milk, and typically those prices have raised more than 1% in the last year. But home prices, again, it's positive. So positive is good. But again, on a real basis, it's not good. Yeah. Here's a couple other whammies for you. Contract fallout, one of the highest rates of contract fallout in history. 60,000 contracts were canceled in August, the last reported month. That's up about 6% year over year. Biggest reason is tied to inspections and repairs. Again, another level of uncertainty. And I know a lot of real estate agents are feeling like they're doing double work right now, right? It's hard. It's true, right? 15% of contracts are falling out, and it's a lot of work to go get a contract.
But by the way, you're going to continue to probably see that in our market here. And so be prepared to write multiple offers for clients, for your buyers, because they are uncertain in this process. And so sometimes they going through the process several times gives them the comfort they need to then finally make the right decision.
And again, we're going to get into this in a second, but it's a big set of conversations on how do you make sure that you're able to bulletproof transactions as much as you can to help and protect your clients on both sides. A little bit more data. 36% of closings last month included seller concessions. Again, seller concessions, not real estate agents getting paid. This is buy down rates, additional money at closing, 36%. That is up 33% year over year. Again, also kind of tied into prices. Not only prices really aren't going up that much, but the concessions are. And affordability, shockingly enough, is down. Prices up a little. Even though the mortgage rates may be falling a little, it still has not overcome affordability. And so I know you're sitting there, you're like, Bob, that is a ton of data. Like, what does all of that really mean in simple English? And ultimately, right, what does it mean to me? The answer is that you probably are seeing it, right? Many buyers are saying, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the right one.
I'm waiting for the perfect house. I'm waiting for it.
I'm
And there's
waiting.
lots of, yeah, we'll get into some of this, but the short answer on this, right, is there's so many variables that buyers are now contending with that with that amount of chaos, they're choosing to make no decisions because that is the safest answer because the other options are just we haven't made it easy for them.
And that again is a big thing is when you hear all the data and you hear all the facts, I'm sure just like now, it's overwhelming. And that's how consumers are feeling. And so when it's overwhelming, of course, the question is right, what can you do about it? Before we get into that, I'm going to give you a couple updates on the Houston trends and see how we compare to the nationwide basis. This is again hard data just released. Total sales on a year over year basis from last month are up 5%, and up about 7% in dollar terms. So the Houston market on average is again doing a little bit better than the national average on volume. Again, I know it doesn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
Paige?
Yeah. And remember, this is September data. So we're comparing September of this year to September of last year. Remember last year we had the derecho and the hurricane. And so some of those stats are kind of washing through last year into September, which we've had no storms. So that would make sense as to why sales are technically up this year in September.
By the way, here's always one of my favorite lines on that is when you see we have about 8,700 closings a month. It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Now, the issue is compare that to 2021, 22, 23. It's not as much as it was back then. And so what that means again is there is enough business for anyone. There is not enough business for everyone. And so it's the question of how are you able to stand out in the market, ultimately do the work to be able to be the people who are successful in a market that is harder.
Yeah. That
Again,
number's not zero, right? It's not
number's
zero.
not zero. No, no. Again, 8,700 closings a month is a lot of business, right? It's just the opportunity of how do you shine. Active listings, again, consistent theme. You've heard this month over month is that the number of total units of everything is up about 25%. Number of single family homes up about 30%, right?
And Houston's leading the nation, one of the leaders in the number of active listings. And that's actually a great thing for Houston. Our buyers haven't quite seen it yet, but we have been underutilized for listings since probably 2015, 2016. So the fact that we have inventory as a market, that is a good thing. And it means buyers actually have choice.
Which is, again, very, very different than where we were 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah. No
Days
choice.
on market, very consistent nationwide average, moving up. Single family home supply, again, you are moving more from what was a tight market to a balanced market. Again, 4 to 6 months is balanced market. You're moving more into that realm of good for buyers, less good for sellers on an overall basis. Prices, this is very, very interesting. Again, this is really interesting data. Your median home price declined. And so again, the median, you look at all the sales, the 8,700 sales, you go, you count up and you count down and you find the one in the middle, right down. Average, I sum the value of all the homes, that is up 2%. And so you're like, well, how does that math work, right? What's the difference between the median and what's the average? What you're really looking at is what are the different price segments. And so ultimately in this is at the bottom, right, 150 to $250,000 homes, not a ton of homes in that market, but really have been a growth for investors. So a lot of cash, a lot of investors, both institutional, non-institutional. That segment is up a lot, 25%.
Well, and because we finally have inventory in that price range, which we did not have during COVID.
Yes, and again, a lot of that is getting scooped up, and a lot of that stuff is not coming back on the market, owned by larger holdings with the expectation to hold them for a long, long time. Your market that is down the most are the people that are most impacted by higher interest rate and higher prices, right? Where sensitivity is there. Your 250 to 500,000. That's down. But at the top, your $1 million plus, you're up 27%. So it is the consistent activity of why averages are up but medians are down is because the top end is moving up more. And ultimately, why is that happening? It's because the stock market's going up and the wealthy feel that wealth effect from the increase in the stock market. And so they are comfortable spending. And that's again a big theme that we're seeing play out not only in Houston, but nationwide. And,
Absolutely.
and so then when you look at the tells, right, what's coming, pendings are up, right, 11% year over year. Now, again, remember, you will have more contracts falling out than you did last year. So that 11% is not really accurate. But also fascinating data. Your list to sale price ratio is the lowest since January of 2023. You're about 7% off.
So you're negotiating about 7% off all said and done, which is a pretty dang good number, especially if those of you on the call remember the days when that number was 104%, meaning you were paying 4% over list. There is some significant savings for your buyers here. All in all, this is a very strong indicator for buyers. While you can never time the market, if I was buying, this would be the exact environment that I would be looking for if I
You
was
have
wanting to be
you have
strategic.
options, you have
Yep.
leverage.
Yep.
The other graph, again, we normally show a lot of graphs. We just wanted to show this one today to get into some of the, what do I do with this data segment? And so this is the Houston home prices back since 2021. Now I know a number of you have gone through the same situation and they're like, hey, I've got this client, I've got this seller, he's selling the house, and it looks like he's going to lose money. Um, this is your slide. This is the slide that you want to show. Right off our website, you can get it. It's updated every day. But the data you're showing is that you have now had 35 months in Houston where prices have been higher than they were in September. And so what that means again is if your now seller bought within those 35 months, the odds are that they are losing money. And that is very, very different than what you saw if you were selling in 2021, 22, and in many cases, early 2023.
And let's be fair, they're not really losing money per se, depending on when they bought and their equity, but the numbers feel different, right? And so if I made the assumption that my house was worth what my neighbor sold for during COVID, but I bought, 15 years ago, I have an illusion that my house was worth something that because I didn't have a buyer at that price, I actually wasn't worth that. But that is a hard concept for sellers to work through.
But that's again why this slide is so important and something that we recommend you bring to a lot of your meetings up front. And you're like, hey, here's again what the market looks like is right. If you bought in the last couple of years and you're trying to sell, right, the question is likely how much money are you going to be losing, not are you going to be losing money?
It's
And again,
also a
very
great
different conversation.
great slide for your buyers as well, because when they say I want to buy low or I think it's going to go lower, you're able to see the natural dips in the market so then they can make the decision for themselves of what they think's going to happen.
That's exactly right. Now, again, the big activity, or at least what we have for you today, is you're like, oh my gosh, there's a ton of data. The data doesn't look good. It kind of data is overwhelming. There's all this stuff. And so ultimately the question is right, what do I do with it? And what do I do with it in a way that provides value to your clients? Because again, in the market, there's not enough for everyone, but there's enough for anyone. So how are you able to be the one to add enough value where your clients are like, yep, I'm choosing you. I want to work with you. And so for buyers that are waiting for the right one, is the answer patience, right? Hey, look, you showed me 14 houses and I just haven't found the right one. And I just want you to be patient. No, no, that is not the right answer. Patience is not the answer. This is not the Guns N' Roses song.
Let me also say this because what Bob just said, if you're not listening to this through the right lens, you won't get this. The reason we say patience is not the answer is because killing 2 years of your client's life while you wait for them to come to their own conclusions, that is no leadership. That is no guidance. That is no fiduciary. Your goal is to help them work through the process to make wise decisions, not just sit there and you go, well, they haven't told me anything, so I guess we're not doing anything and I'll just wait for them. That is not what you're called to do as an advisor. So while they may need to take some time, and that requires patience, just waiting on them to take direction from them, that is not a way to show value in your profession.
Or leadership. And I'd say more than anything else, the mindset shift that you should be going through in this market is enormous. Because again,
Absolutely.
it's not, hey, look, I saw 15 houses, go show me another 15. Just be patient. That's not the right answer for you. It's not the right answer for them. So you need the mindset shift. The question is right, to what? Right? What should the mindset shift be instead? And
Yep.
ultimately, it gets down to two things. Is the story of, oh, I'm just waiting on the one. It means either you haven't provided a simple option that they can do next, or you haven't provided the clarity on what to do next.
Yeah. The way I like to say this is we have not provided an easy button. And that's what your buyers are specifically looking for. Um, and what I mean by that is with their listings being up 24%, there are too many options in the market. And with there being lots of noise in the market, there's lots of noise. And so by not working through these issues with them, you're not giving them an easy button to make the right decisions for them.
Here's a really simple example. We were out last night with some friends at our favorite restaurant in the city. It's June on 20th Street. Their menu is really, really tiny. We had a couple people over 50. They're like, I can't quite read the menu. I've got glasses. And so I'm like, hey, you got three options, right? One is there's a pre-fee menu. We just all decide to do that. Two, we actually have to read the menu and make some orders. Or three, we just take all our menus, hand them to the waiter, and have the waiter just bring us food.
And immediately, all of us just handed the waiter because we wanted the easy button. That was simplicity and clarity. And we were able to make really great decisions on what we ate because of that.
So the question is how do you do that? And how do you do that smartly? And so your big question to start with is if there is this, hey, I'm just waiting for the right one, you've got to ask yourself, is the strategy you set or didn't set, is it actually working?
Yeah, that means did you actually have a strategy meeting to begin with to understand what you all were trying to achieve? Or did you just sort of use an intake form, have them answer a few questions, and off you went? Right? Big difference between advisor and someone who's a door opener. Make sure that the strategy you set is working and be honest with yourself if it's not.
And that's a huge one. And so what does that look like? It looks like simplicity, right? Four most powerful words in real estate.
Here's
Here's
what happens next.
And so have you provided the simple next step? Again, the phraseology of the question, you've got three options, right? Here's what they look like. And then two, if the answer is no, 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 like I can't buy, like ConocoPhillips is going to announce 20 to 25% layoffs most likely next month. If you've got a buyer from ConocoPhillips, there's a lot of uncertainty. And so rather than just say, hey, I'm waiting for the right one. I'm waiting for the right one. You're looking to intentionally pause, right? I'm here
Yep.
to pause and I'm here to pause on purpose because that's the plan. Again, still a simple process and plan, but I am doing it in an intentional way rather than letting life happen to me, or in this case, to your client.
Yep.
And so your question is right, what does that look like? You're like, okay, I get the theory, right? I should be intentional. I should make it simple. I should provide a next step. But how? Like, how do I actually do that? So, Paige, what's the AAA framework?
The AAA framework is pretty simple, but if you will remember it, it's how you're able to go through the process to get to clarity and to provide a simple next step.
And so
First,
first is
you're going to
acknowledge.
acknowledge, right? You're going to acknowledge where they are and what the situation is. Everybody wants to be heard. I certainly do. You all do. And so by acknowledging where they are, you're aligning yourself with them.
And so again, really good example. Hey, I understand waiting for the one. No one wants buyer's remorse, especially right now. Think about that level of acknowledgement versus somebody's like, oh, I'm waiting for the right one. No, 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 you don't understand. No, no, you just don't understand. You need to make an offer.
Right, right. No, this is the time to buy, to buy. It's a great buyer's market. You should buy. Well, you haven't acknowledged where I am, so now I have a trust gap with you.
After you acknowledge, Paige, you get a chance to approve.
Yeah,
What
right.
is what does approval look like?
Who doesn't want to have approval for where they are, right? So you've acknowledged my stance, but now you're telling me that you approve what where I am, and you're aligning yourself with me. So an
And so
example would say, would it be fair to say, Bob, I know you're waiting for the right one. Would it be fair to say that you value quality and insist on high standards? Bob says, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I'm aligned with that vision with you, Bob. That's exactly right.
you've got us nodding. You've got us both nodding. We're aligned. I'm not opposed. And Paige, what's the third A?
Then you got to ask the questions. As agents, that is our biggest challenge. We do not like to ask. We wait to be told, or we make assumptions about what they may be thinking based on hidden information. Well, they may have said this in a text message. Oh, well, they didn't respond here, so that must mean blah. Well, I heard that their sister, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. We need to ask. That is our job, is to be an investigator, because by asking, we are actually helping them uncover what is important to them. So, Bob, look, I'm aligned that you want, to find the one. I think that's exactly right. If that showed up today, what are the three essentials that that house has to have that you go, heck yeah, I want to buy that? And the reason I'm asking is I really want to make sure that I'm not wasting your time and that I'm only bringing opportunities to you that meet your absolutes.
Obviously, again, questions are the most important. Let's give you a couple other questions that are really powerful that drive an impact. In this case is right, are you pausing or not? And the question you want to ask is, right, are we buying in the near term or are we pausing on purpose? I have a plan for both,
Mhm.
right? It consistently reinforces you as the expert.
Well, and again, it aligns you with their intentions. Because again, most people, if you have not built the trust, will make the assumption that you're just a salesperson and that you're pushing them to make the decision that's best for you. When you're able to say honestly, okay, look, is this a short-term thing? Is your lease up like yesterday and we need to get on this? Or are you really worried about where your job is going and we need to take a pause and reflect to then have a plan for what could happen, positive or negative? That's where you align, because you're becoming the professional that they hired. You're not just trying to sell them a house.
Other big thing that you're able to do again is have a great question to reassess their plans. Paige, again, tell us all what timing forward and what changed look like.
Well, remember that I'm sure that you all with your buyers had an initial strategy session, but let's say you didn't, or let's say you did, but we're just still looking for the one and it's been a minute. That is time to sit back down together and reassess the situation, right? Are we pausing on purpose? Are we moving forward? And then go through this process of, look, when we first met, you said that you needed to be in a new house in 3 months. It's been 3 months and we're not there yet. Let's talk about your timing and what may have changed. Well, actually, nothing changed. I didn't realize that I couldn't afford what I needed to afford, blah, 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 blah. So reassess timing. Ford, family, occupation, Bob,
Recreation and
and
dreams.
right? So, what is your family situation? What is your job situation? What do you do for fun? And then what do you dream about? I dream about throwing a baseball in the backyard with my son, right? Those are the things. And then the last question is, what has changed since we started this process?
Which is huge. Again, questions, simple questions that you'd
Just
ask a
questions,
friend. What do you
right?
have? What do you have that's going on? Another big thing to go through. as a great series of questions after each showing, right? And this is a big thing to help drive the what happens next and also to drive the simple specificity. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think of this house? But 3 is not an option, right?
Right? Because three's in the middle. Like I'm not neither hot nor cold.
Yep.
Like one and a two, you're like off the list. Three is
Yep.
like meh. But who in
Yeah.
this call has ever bought a three?
No,
Nobody.
no one. And what that gives you a chance to do is to say, okay, play like best next time. 1 to 2, oh, I did a bad job. What can I do better? 4 to 5, let's think about an offer. What has to be right in order for you to be able to make an offer? And so I think the big thing is what we've gone through is you're like the data, there's a lot of noise, it's confusing. And candidly, the next couple of years is more of what we've got.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that doesn't feel good internally. Your question again is if that's where we are, how do you win, right? How do you win in this market where other people aren't going to be willing to do the work, but you are? Specifically, you've got frameworks, and more than anything else on the framework, it's be a great human being. Have a feeling-based conversation, meet them where they are, you're acknowledging them, you're complimenting them, you're asking questions. So the big thing is, how do you repeatably ask great questions for every one of your clients so you set yourself up to win in this market? Not for a day, not for a week, not for a month, but likely for the next 2 or 3 years that we're going to be in this market, right? That's the heart of the question. And so what we've been doing, and this is again a huge shout out for Sibel and Alexis and Violet and Brad, is a very simple accountability practice. And you make this a game. And on the agent side, the agent goes through and says, okay, I got Timmy. What's Timmy's goal? Answer the question. Hey, why is Timmy moving? Okay, why is Timmy specifically not moving, right? Why did Timmy just tell me that he's waiting for the one after the 25th showing? What's the next step with Timmy? What's the opening line for when I call Timmy and I talk to him today at 10 o'clock? And specifically, when I call Timmy today at 10 o'clock, what do I want? And then what's a fallback option that's good, right? That's theoretically what every agent should go through with every client every day.
Absolutely. This is your job for your client roster to go through this. And if you're sitting at home going, I'm not sure what I need to be doing today, do this.
But but we know that that doesn't usually happen because, right, life gets in the way.
Yep.
And so the habit that we've built and the habit that we'd recommend that you have is then when you go through that, you have a group. Again, your accountability group gets you through your hard times. And in the group, it's a timed exercise. And specifically, the group is only able to ask mirrors, labels, and questions. And by doing that to the agent is unlocking the thought process of, oh my God, I forgot to ask that question. Oh my gosh, this feels like a really good update. This is really what I have a chance to do. We found this exercise to be valuable. We're playing this 3 days a week. If you want right now, our 15 top questions in our question bank to help unlock some of the brain cells, shoot us a note afterwards. Paige, anything else you want to add on this?
No, we're out of time. Our next we're gonna take November off because I know that November is crazy for you guys. We will see you in December. For those of you on the call that are at Keller Williams Memorial, make sure you attend the mandatory risk management training. You need to sign up for that. That's on Monday, so please don't forget about that. And the last thing I will say, y'all, this is not an a difficult market. It's a different market. And for those of you who are in this for a career, when you learn how to operate in this market, you will be successful for as long as you want to be in real estate.
Have a great rest of your Friday.
Happy selling. Bye, guys.